And it looks like we're good to get started here. What's going on, everyone? And welcome to tonight's episode of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is episode number 202. I'm your host, Invader, and I gotta say, I'm really looking forward to getting into all the topics tonight, even a surprise one from the looks of it. Let's see. Xbox announced the 20th anniversary celebrations. We'll give you our thoughts on what you'll be seeing there. Also, there was just a random drop like an hour ago about seeing Halo Infinite campaign gameplay early in the morning. Seems to be getting everybody pretty stoked, including myself, so we will definitely talk about that. Also, there's been a couple of recent interviews with heads of Xbox Game Studios. We will dive into those and a few other things. In case you haven't noticed, there's a bit of a new look to the show. We've taken some feedback from all of you, and we hope that you like what you see and what you hear. Let us know in the chat and in the comment section after the show how things are and the quality of the audio. We do a lot of testing beforehand, but hey, input is always appreciated. Let's see. Oh, and also, hey, special thanks to the Indie Gamer and Fastback for said feedback and helping out. You guys rock. Definitely friends of the show. Now, with that said, let's get to introducing everyone tonight's panel. And hey, Centurion, what's up, buddy? How you been the past week?
I've been doing well. Things are actually starting to go up on the up and up. Finally starting to write out some scripts and wake Fanboy out of his jail cell and start filming again. Been also kind of grinding out Far Cry 6, amazing game, lots of really good fun times. Shout out to the Blue One. He's been co-oping that game with me here and there, and he's been making it even more fun. I mean, we went on like a reign of terror across the island last night, just totally capturing bases and checkpoints. And when I'm not playing that, I've been some PTK over on the Shop Podcast a few weeks ago played Division 2 with me, and he basically gave me a new drug addiction called the Division 2. I built a new character, and so me, my two brothers that are basically very close to me, we've been grinding that game out now. We're almost level 30, getting ready to start tackling a lot of the DLC. We've almost made it through the entire main campaign. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing in gaming. And then obviously the news just keeps pouring out from social media, Twitter, all those great places. I mean, it's definitely fun to sit back and watch what's going on right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And we will dive into that a little bit. I mean, there's not really a lot that can be said, but damn, there is excitement, and I totally see in the chat right now, guys just filing in. Again, don't forget to hit the like and share this out so that everybody knows that TXR is live at this very moment, and we want to talk about this breaking news with everyone. So get them all in here. Moving on down the list here, Eric Shockley, buddy. I know you're getting some food now on the road, but how you been?
Pretty good. Just been trying to get to that Metro Dread. I don't understand why people say it's super hard. Like it's not even that hard. I don't even think it's the hardest Metroid. Probably Fusion was probably more difficult, or any game from Software.
So get them all in here.
Doesn't even compare. But yeah, it's been pretty awesome. It's actually been, because I don't have an OLED TV, so it's like I have a pretty good TCL that gets really bright for like HDR, but some of this new Switch OLED, some of the just like some of the lights and the visor and everything kind of pop a little bit more. I was surprised, but yeah, that's been a blast trying to get through that in time for, yeah, I should definitely in time for the Forza, so that drops on the 9th, so I'm really excited for that, but and excited to see this new Halo this morning, or tomorrow morning. So, but yeah, that's what I've been down on right now is that Metroid. Definitely pick that up if you have a Switch. Definitely don't let anybody tell you it's not worth $60. Like the experience, you won't even second guess your purchase. I swear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've been very curious about it myself. I've been wanting to pick up something for my Switch, and I'm a big Metroid fan going all the way back. Like I've seen the comments, like you said, Shock, but like people say it's really hard, but I mean, I guess if you're not used to Metroidvania games, then I mean you might be kind of
Any Castlevania game I've ever played is harder than this. It's not even Castlevania games are more the harder like Metroidvania games, at least in my opinion, from compared to Metroid. Um, but this it feels like a premium. Like you had your old Metroid 2D games, but this is like a nice premium in between like Metroid Prime. Because sometimes the suit looks really good, and you're close up on the suit like in third person, kind of like what other M should have been on the Wii. Um, but yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, I like the art style, and it does seem to have a lot of personality to it. So, yeah, I'm curious about it. I may wait a bit, but I am interested in the title. There's a comment in the chat. I'm having a blast with Metroid. Well, hey, there you go, Shock. Another satisfied customer in the chat. Yeah, either way, just I'm enjoying the news from Metroid Dread. Again, I'm happy when good games succeed. So, congrats to Nintendo on that one. Moving on down the list here, General MLD, buddy. How's things going at your end?
Hey, pretty good, pretty good. Currently playing. I'm in the Halloween spirit here. I'm gonna try and get through the medium, Resident Evil 8, and an old 360 classic I haven't played. Did never got around to the chance to playing. It's Condemned Criminal Origins. I want to try and get all three of those done before the month is out, and pre-installing Forza Horizon 5. Can't wait to play that. And yeah, let's can't wait to talk about all the stuff that Xbox has been doing lately.
Yeah, totally, buddy. I you're right. Like I'm in the mood for like some more like spooky horror titles. Like again, I'm a big fan of like sci-fi, horror, suspense, thriller movies. Like I mean, I can make a long list of movies I watch, but I've been going through a few games too. Like Back for Blood, I've been playing recently. You'll see the gameplay going on through the video here, but at the same time, I have like a few games on the back burner, as everybody knows. One of those titles is The Evil Within 2, and I'm enamored with it. I just haven't had a chance to get back into it at the moment. But man, I'm really itching to get back into it. Have you MLD? Have you played any of the two Evil Within titles?
Oh yeah, I played them both earlier this year when like Bethesda did the whole Game Pass dump around E3. Evil Within 1, I'd say that was more on the horror side. Evil Within 2 was more like a little more. I'd say a little more like Resident Evil 4. It's still horror elements, but it leans a little towards the action adventure. But hey, that's fine with me. Like it was a great game.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely play it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Tango, I'm impressed. Like, both games are like two different kind of styles. I mean, I guess there's two different directors on the titles, but like they're both excellent games. But I still gotta play, like, really get through the second title there. Tim Dog won't be making it tonight, guys. Last minute he got what was it, Nick tickets, so he'll be at the basketball game and having a few beers. But I see him tweeting away. I'm pretty sure everybody and their grandmother tagged him with like the Halo news going out right now, so I can tell he's pretty fired up. Man, if you believe me, he would be going on right now. But speaking of which, guys, let's talk about that because yeah, Xbox, all the different Xbox accounts, Halo accounts, they're announcing Halo Infinite campaign overview gameplay tomorrow, and the length of it seems to be about 6.5 minutes, give or take a few seconds. Yeah, guys, we've been waiting for this a while. A lot of us were speculating, when that would drop, like sometime after the second flight. I had pinned it originally, like I was hoping for the end of October, and here we are, but they went on a bit of silence, so damn. I mean, that was out of nowhere, and I think a lot of people from the looks of it are pretty pleased. MLD, I know you just found out about it a few minutes ago. How are you feeling?
Oh, I mean, like we were talking in the before we went live, and I was just like, I just cried out in excitement there. Like this is before I expected. I was expecting it to be on November 15 on the anniversary. So this is very nice news to hear. Just like it's just like, well, what is it like? The fact that they're showing it now, like when no one is expecting it, that's telling me that they're actually confident about it. That they're doing it sooner than people were predicting. Like again, before the anniversary. So I think that they're going to be ready for the for all the reactions, even people like trying to see everything wrong with it. I think we're gonna get a good showing. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm. I think that since a lot of people didn't have a lot of time to like dwell on it, like again, it's again what like 10 10 11 hours away from it. So I'm pretty stoked. I'm gonna be working when it drops, but man, oh man, I gotta admit, guys, I'm excited. I see so much of that in the chat. Centurion pal, I mean, you must be pretty stoked to finally see Halo campaign stuff popped up.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to finally get my my camera out so that way I can screen capture every bad image I can find and plaster it all over the internet. No, I'm joking. No, I'm excited to finally get some information out on the campaign. Ever since I saw that trailer that they released where Chief was basically conversating with what I call new Cortana or Cortana 2.0, definitely I need to know more. I felt like that trailer was very gripping. I need to know more about the story. There's definitely a lot of unanswered questions we got going on. What is going on with Atriox? Is Atriox around? How are the Banished basically going to interject themselves into this one because they were from Halo Wars 2? And the big thing, at least in my mind, is what are we going to do with the character Locke? Is he going to become canon? Is he just going to get like a little, thing in the beginning of the game and they just move on? Those are the questions at least roll around in my head. But it also, I feel, frees Xbox up. And now that we've got the Halo campaign finally being talked about, this allows any events that they've got coming out between now and the 8th to not exactly have to have to have it revolve around Halo exclusively because of the lack of campaign that has been shown. So I just really feel this is going to be able to finally be able to kind of get this ball rolling and increase the excitement even more for Halo.
Yeah, there's a lot of we still need to see quite a bit, and I mean, I want some. Like, I don't know if you remember the trailer exactly that they released, like, again, over a year ago, the original one, but do you remember what, what's his name, Esheram, he had said? The Banished and the Harbinger, like, act as one or something like that, and I'm really curious who the Harbinger is, so, yeah.
See, that's the theories. Oh, there's a lot that can be said about that. I mean, did everybody here at least play Halo Wars 2?
Oh yeah, I played through it and the DLC.
Yep. Okay, because that's where obviously if you never played Halo Wars 2 and that was not your thing, I don't believe the Flood was in Halo 5, correct?
No.
That's where Halo Wars came in. Halo Wars 2 came in, and wherever the Pillar of Autumn and all them ended up in Halo Wars 2. I hope I'm also getting the ship name right. But they, obviously, the Banished and them, they were in a different part of the galaxy where there was another stash of the Flood, and during their battle between the Earth forces and the Banished forces, they inadvertently released that version of the Flood. And that's where you have no idea what's truly going on, who they could be working together with, because we all got to remember in Halo 3, the Flood worked with Master Chief and the, oh my gosh, the guy from the Elite Forces. What's his name?
The Arbiter.
The what was his name?
The Arbiter.
The Arbiter. Yeah, they basically, the Flood made a deal with them basically because for whatever reason, I can't remember the lore exactly, but so it's not beyond the Flood to hive mind and actually work together with another species to basically further its own conquest of the galaxy. But that's where, I mean, there's a lot of good story that can come out of this. I got excited when I heard that the Banished were back because I felt that throughout the Halo franchise, the brutes were just what they were. They were just brutes. They were the heavy muscle of the Covenant forces. And now I felt that Atriox really gave a voice to the brutes. He actually became, in my opinion, one of the more iconic bad guys of the Halo world as a whole when it comes to the franchise. And I really hope that they're actually going to bring him forward into this game, because I really felt he deserved a much bigger role in the franchise than just Halo Wars 2.
I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure.
like, I just want to see the Chief kicking ass and, you know, doing something memorable, and like, I don't know, like, just show off the game properly, no BS, don't go like too long into things, just, you know, show a really nice like slice of content, a nice slice of a level, maybe a little bit of a, you know, an in-game cutscene, whatever it may be, but, you know, just show off like a new weapon, a couple of maybe a new enemy type, you know, just different things like that, maybe new sentinel and so on, a new vehicle, like just some new stuff to get excited about, but, you know, just a little sample, a little tidbit, just to really get us hyped for what's coming. Because again, guys, this game is dropping in like what, a month and a week, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So
6 weeks, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, so it's really close. It is like just around the corner. So
It's so close, it's palatable.
mhm. Yeah, and again, I just really want them to show off. I remember, you know, they had a little snippet back a few months ago at their showcase event, and the stuff looked nice from a distance, but they didn't really show off a lot. So I want to see what kind of polish they did to these characters up close and personal. I want to see like all the detail on the brutes, grunts, marine armor, vehicle, just everything, and just see like the beautiful landscape, traversal. Again, like I could go into so much, guys, and just blather on, but you get it, and I see the excitement really coming out. Just again, just a random announcement out of nowhere, out of the blue, and bam, like the entire internet is talking up a storm at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if it's trending on social media at the moment.
See, I get controversial when I make the comments of, I totally was not bothered by the original gameplay shown of Halo Infinite. I accepted that build was months old, and that they had already, that there was probably a lot more work that needed to be done. That was obvious. And I'm glad that they did delay the game to be able to do even more polish and more work to what was already there. But I actually enjoyed watching the campaign footage that was shown originally. I mean, it was really nice to see him use the grappling hook. It was nice to see the fighting, the AI. And like, I know everybody made a big deal out of Craig, but we're talking about a screen capture that if you were to play it, it literally wasn't even on screen. I think it was like just under like 1.5 seconds. So
it was like a millisecond. You literally had to go back, freeze frame in motion when he punches him to snap it. I can do that with Last of Us. There's plenty of spots where in motion it drops some of the resolution on the face. There's one in the Horizon Forbidden West when she's like starting to hang glide, and you look at her face and it looks all like just muddy, like the texture is gone. But,
and that's tricks developers use to basically push the game and make it run better. Is they know that they know, like, it's kind of like funny. I watch a developer that says, as you're moving forward, the game is deleting itself behind you. And that's where it's kind of. It's the tricks that developers use to basically keep the game running right, and that's where when a developer looks at it, it's like, well, this person literally exists for a half a second. Why do we need to make sure that the resolution's cranked up to 8K on his face, slowing down the game? That's where I just did not get up in arms when the original footage was shown. I understand that there was some work that needed to be done, but at the same time, not at any time did these developers come out and say this is the final freaking product.
Oh yeah, I mean, I obviously when I saw it, I was a little underwhelmed by the graphics, but at the same time, I had my eye on the prize. Like, this was like by far the biggest environment we've ever seen, and the gameplay was on point. Like I've said it a year ago, I'm saying it now. It's far easier to fix like a graphical, it's far easier to do graphical touch-ups than it is to fix a broken gameplay. So I think while everyone's talking about the graphics, I mean, the foundation was solid, and if it looks anything like the multiplayer, I think we're going to be in for a good time.
Well, that's what I was just about to bring up to MLD because again, we got to sample this game uh, in the midsummer. We got to sample it at the end of September earlier this month as well. A couple of different flights going on, and I mean, I was impressed by the level of detail and the environment, sound design, and a few other things. The sandbox was a lot of fun to play around with, and again, it kept me wanting more and more. So I just like I'm just overall I'm really excited to see how things have progressed with the campaign. I was one of those people like you guys who again like you guys can go back to when we were talking about it like back then. I was really happy with what I saw. I mean, but like everybody else was saying, it did need to look sharper. It wasn't exactly the same quality I was expecting, and I was hoping they would delay it, but that's all been said before. We're here now. And yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for tomorrow and just generally curious to see what they give us, what they show us, and what's new. And
It's probably going to be a very amazing looking game. I mean, can anybody really name off the top of their head a game where the multiplayer looked way better graphically than the actual campaign? Because generally the multiplayer is dulled down to be able to save processing power for the fact that it's an online multiplayer, and the campaign is generally where they turn it up to 10 and they have all the settings cranked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, guys. I mean, there's not a lot to gauge right now other than, hey, we got something for tomorrow morning to look forward to. And yeah, I mean, from what you guys were saying earlier, it's going to be dropping at like 9 in the morning Eastern time. So I'm going to have to find time on my break to watch it. And man, I'm just stoked. I'm stoked like a lot of other people on social media, even in the chat right now. Just really looking forward to it.
Just think, like, from where it was yesterday, or not yesterday, but the last year, like midsummer, like the gameplay definitely wasn't the issue. It was just like the visuals did need a little bit more polish for sure. And they've had, what, more than a year and a half basically to polish from that instance. So it should. I'm definitely expecting high expectations here.
Like, I just want to see like a weapon I haven't seen before. I want to see a Promethean vehicle. Like I've always speculated, like what would a Promethean tank look like? Like things like that, or even like the banished twists on their vehicle, on the Covenant vehicle designs. Like we've seen some stuff, and I like to see Halo Wars 2 banished vehicles come into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much they can do. I don't want to set my expectations too high, but again, the fact that they're doing this as a surprise, I think they're pretty confident in what they have to show us.
Mm-hmm. Like, like don't get your hopes too, for it. Just again, be realistic with the expectations with the game. There'll be obviously a lot of familiar stuff, or there'll be a lot of banished themed things, and again, some surprises as well. I have been keeping up with the leaks. Again, I won't share them because, again, I'm not going to spoil anything, and I don't know where exactly certain leaks lead, I should say. But there is stuff to look forward to, guys, and I'm pumped. And again, there's not too much to go off of here except that we're going to see something tomorrow, but judging from the energy, a lot of people want to see this. There's a lot of excitement. So, just, raise your hand in the chat, if you're excited, tell us what you're looking forward to see in the gameplay tomorrow, Chief kicking ass or whatever it may be, and so on, seeing some new enemy types, whatever it may be. But guys, we will stray away from that, and because that will be a talking point for next week for sure. But we will move into, I guess, our first official topic of the night, or topic number 2, I guess now. Obviously, Xbox announced that they'll be having an official Xbox anniversary celebration, highlighting a couple of games that have recently came out, as well as what we'll be expecting to see in a few weeks and more. MLD, buddy, I'll hit you up again. I think we are all expecting some kind of event or stream from Xbox. What do you think we'll be seeing there, judging from what they're saying?
Okay, well, I mean, I'm going to temper my expectations for one, but I don't. That said, I think we're going to get a little something to be excited about. Like, I think it'll start off with like some kind of like interviews with prominent Xbox executives over the years. They'll give us a brief history lesson of the original Xbox, the 360, Xbox One, give us the highlights, the things that they innovated in the industry, like Xbox Live for the original Xbox, the achievement system. I think they'll do like things like that. They'll just really like pump up the things that they, pioneered in the industry and the things that they're really proud of. It'll be like stuff like that. But then I think they'll get into things like I mean, they've been really quiet on the frames boost front. Like they did that earlier in the year, but then they just, stopped. I mean, I hope anyway, they'll give us another dump of games that are frame rate boosted. But even that, I think people want more backwards compatibility games added. Because I think 360 has about 500 games that are more or less compatible. The original Xbox has, correct me if I'm wrong, like 50 or so, give or take. I feel like we're due to get like just more. So I feel like they're gonna drop some games there too. Maybe some Game Pass editions as well. Like maybe some games will be on Game Pass. Just add the value, get people excited. So overall, it'll be like one of those lighthearted celebrations of Xbox kind of thing. But give fans something to talk about, give fans something to actually game in the present. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely gonna watch it, see what they do, and just get excited for it.
Yeah, there's again, I'm generally curious. I think they're kind of setting our expectations like to be kind of on level here because, they're basically saying, don't expect like a lot of new things. Like for example, I think they basically said, oh, don't expect like a lot of new game announcements per se, but they'll be showing again games that we know about. Like they'll be highlighting games that came out recently. For example, Psychonauts 2, Flight Simulator, the Game of the Year or Gold Edition, whatever it's called, and oh yeah, and Age of Empires 4, which is coming out on PC, I believe, in a couple of days. So that's around the corner. And obviously games that are coming out very, very soon. Forza Horizon 5, Halo. I would assume that, I mean, I wasn't expecting there to be a trailer dropped tomorrow, so I still think that there will be some Halo highlighted at the show. It's just a matter of what they show. And like what else? I mean, maybe the Gunk? I think that's an indie exclusive that's supposed to be released in early December, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
It should be
praying some
alongside Halo.
Crossfire X.
Yeah.
Crossfire X, yeah.
Yeah, they've been pretty silent on that as well. So
That was supposed to drop a year ago, and
Oh, yeah.
and they kept and someone said that like, hey, we're on track for this year, but we haven't heard anything. But
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if they're gonna announce anything new, it's gonna be at the VGAs because I mean, as we all know, last year they were pretty. They dominated that show there with announcements and with Perfect Dark and was it Arc 2 was time exclusive, things like that. I think we'll see the new things over there. So they're gonna give us the old and the legacy stuff in November and December. They're gonna drop us like that kind of like new things to get excited about. Like I feel like, I mean, if I can go off on this tangent here, I feel like Compulsion is due for a reveal. Where we seem to be hearing about them lately, and they've been way too quiet. And also maybe some time third-party games as well. Maybe even a trailer for Hellblade or Avowed. Those were rumored to be shown possibly at the VGAs. So I feel we got a lot to look forward to, like past and present and future. So it's good that they're spacing it out. Like really, yeah. I mean, they got so much coming. It's good to give us specific dates to be excited. Yeah.
And that again, like that really raises the question of, I mean, do they really need to show like anything new like for the near future? I mean, technically, guys, they could just wait until E3, right? I mean, because they have a lot of IP announced, and we still haven't seen a lot of gameplay for, well, a good portion of them, whether it be Hellblade, again, like anything new from Crossfire X, a lot of the indie titles. Again, Scorn had gotten delayed into 2022. There's a lot of titles. Like, there's some that are just eluding me off the top of my head, but I'm sure you guys could like just look at a list online of like titles coming from Xbox Game Studios. It is enormous. Like, I mean, I know Contraband is still in early development, but it would be nice to see something, from that title. Avowed got announced last year or over a year ago. It would be great to see something there, and so on. Like, they got a lot, and like you said, MLD too. They had, what did they announce last year at the Video Game Awards? Perfect Dark, Arc 2, and
I think Warhammer was there as well.
oh yes, Warhammer Dark Tide. Yes, and that's another one that got delayed.
So like 2-time third-party games and 1 first-party game. So I mean, if that's the bar that they set, I mean, I say we're in for a good show.
Actually, what just happened made a good comment in the chat. Man, I hope they show some Redfall gameplay. I mean, that title's supposed to be coming next summer. Do you think that they would be brave enough to show off some gameplay at this point? I mean, anything is possible if it's already been announced. So,
I mean,
maybe.
sure. I mean, I'm sure they're aware of that leaked alpha screen, so maybe they want to change perceptions on that and let that the official gameplay, snowball instead. So, who knows, really?
Yeah, like, I'll be honest, I wasn't too fazed by what I saw. Again, leaked alpha is leaked alpha. Like, it just, you don't really think too much of it. I mean, you look at the style of the game, but like, it's very early on. I remember years ago when I saw Halo Reach alpha, before that even got like officially shown off, and I don't know, it's early gameplay, guys. Like, early like little snippets of anything that don't have a lot of detail in them. So you just kind of take it for what it is. So, yeah, not a big deal to me. Not a big deal to me. And again, that goes for like any system, any game. It just, again, early is early, whatever. We got a comment in the chat about Exo Mecha as well. I believe that's the free-to-play mech shooter that looks absolutely nuts that I want to play. Yeah, that got delayed as well. Oh man, again, guys, they got a lot to show off. I mean, I would argue that they really don't need to show off anything new at the moment. Just give us confirmed dates and some more new gameplay for titles that we already know about. That would be some nice icing on the cake to finish off the year. Just to again get some expectations kind of in line. But actually, MLD too, back to what you were saying about backwards compatible titles. Yeah, I would love to see if they announce any of those. I mean, the backwards compatibility team has been kind of silent when it comes to that stuff, and I think they've been kind of teasing, if I'm not mistaken, that there might be an announcement there. I mean, again, it's the 20th anniversary. It's the 20th anniversary of Xbox, so you'd think that they would want to celebrate by having all kinds of more games available for people to play from the old like systems, the original Xbox, the 360, and so on. And there's a lot of titles, a lot of gems on there that people might have missed out on. Centurion, I'll just pick on you for a sec. Is there anything in the backwards compatible library that you would like to see brought in?
Not off the top of my head, I can't say anything, but my backlog is also 5 miles long, so I feel like I'm drowning. I think that's probably has something to do with it. But I do believe that they are probably going to fire backwards compatibility up. I mean, I said that, I know we've got, a celebration event coming up with Xbox, and I feel like there's a lot more to celebrate about Xbox than just gaming in itself. I mean, MLD mentioned Xbox Live earlier. I understand the Sega Dreamcast came out with an LAN card or the port in the back, but I really feel that Microsoft were the ones that captured that The original Xbox came out of the box with a local area network card. It led to everybody dragging their Xbox and TVs to their friends' houses and setting up these massive LAN parties. But it was also some of the innovation that Microsoft pushed. I mean, the fact that they put a hard drive physically in the console, that blew everybody's minds. It made the original Xbox completely unique. And that came forward with the Xbox 360, where Xbox 360 is where we started seeing the digital marketplaces and the concepts of buying games digitally, which freaked everybody out. And that came to fruition during the Xbox One era. And the Xbox One era is where we really saw backwards compatibility really light up and become a very big thing, because Microsoft wanted people to feel comfortable making these digital purchases, knowing that the games would come forward with them. And I really feel they did a good job of making me feel comfortable in purchasing digital games, because that's all I pretty much do anymore. And I mean, Xbox really needs to be celebrated for a lot of the things they do. I mean, we see a total divergence in inclusivity versus exclusivity. We all know who's over here pounding the exclusivity bandwagon, which seems to be falling to PC. That's a different story in itself. But with inclusivity, Microsoft wants everybody to be able to enjoy their games, not only by the platform you play on, whether it's PC, console, mobile, anywhere that xCloud can be. But let's also look at Xbox is the only actual game console manufacturer that created a controller for disabled gamers. I mean, they really want everybody to experience these games. With the adaptive controller, we just recently saw them celebrating disabled gamers with disabilities just the other month. I feel Microsoft has a lot of reasons to be championed outside of all the great games they give us on a constant basis, in my opinion. And definitely, I'm looking forward to the future of Xbox, everything they're going to give us. And I know whatever they put out, whether it's backwards compatibility, new games, I'm just looking forward to everything they're doing right now. This is why I've always made Xbox my home and enjoy the people in the community around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I could just add to like the backwards compatible list, because I've been itching to replay these games on the new system just with like some natural little tweaks and boosts they get from the hardware. I would just love to see games like Warhammer 40k Space Marine pop up, because I'm a Warhammer
nut. That would be one I missed. I would agree with you on that one. I'll second that.
I'm a bit of a 40k nut, and while I'm not a Space Marine player per se, that was I thought that was a pretty good third-person shooter. Story was all right, and just fun. It was fun.
So when it comes to backwards compatibility, there is games that have got me excited, and I bought them day one, the day they became available on the backwards compatibility list. The first one was an OG Xbox game, Star Wars Republic Commando. I mean, yes. That's a hidden gem. If you've never played a first-person Star Wars game, that was a really, really good one. And then for me, it was the Ghostbusters game that came out that was way better done than the Ghostbusters movie we got a few years back. And so, I mean, and I will be absolutely honest, not only did I play that game when it came out, I bought it day one when it became backwards compatible, and I also got that game Ghostbusters Remastered for the updated graphics and everything. So there is older games that tickle my fancy. It just happens it's kind of funny how you'll forget about some of these games because of all the content we constantly have just being shoveled over to us, either whether it's in Game Pass or not Game Pass. It just feels like there's a lot of games out there to play, and all of a sudden here comes a backwards compatibility tweet, and you're just like, oh my god, I forgot about that game. I really want to play that again.
Mm-hmm. And I also have to give a shout out to the Fear games, Fear 1, 2, 3. Okay, maybe not so much 3, but it was a fun game gameplay wise. I will say that it is fun.
Fear, I never played Fear. Fear 1 was awesome. Fear 2 was great. I never played Fear 3, but definitely that is a hidden gem in itself. A game that basically makes you see things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, again, I like some spooky titles, and that one just hits a lot of spots the right way. And Yeah, I mean, it's a series that I would love to see back, to be able to play natively on the consoles. Make things a lot easier, right, guys? And I've seen a lot of love about for those games coming back. And I know I'm missing a heck of a lot of titles, guys, but still would love to see them along with a lot of Xbox originals. I mean, I would love to see back from the OG Xbox, MechAssault, the two MechAssault games make their way over. But I know because
I like what somebody just put in the chat. Riddick. That right there. That would be one I'd probably I would day one that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty cool, right? But
or Dead or Alive 4.
I think that was a 360 launch title, though.
Which
was
one?
it? I think so. The one with the Spartan fighter.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it was
360
it was
launch
right
title.
after launch. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but like, I mean, I'm thinking of the Xbox originals though. No, I think I would like them to add achievements, not something not like full achievement support, but like maybe like a minor achievement support, like maybe 1 or 2 per game.
Gee.
I feel like there's some games I want to play, but I feel like maybe not, because again, like I'm not adding to my gamer score. As petty as that sounds, I feel like if they were to do that, they would really increase the engagement for the original Xbox titles. No.
Yeah, because even Sony does that with PS2. You can play GTA 3. I was playing that to get ready for the trilogy, and you can get trophies for playing GTA 3 like PS2. So
well, there you go. I mean, if they can do it for their backwards compatible games, I don't see how Xbox can't do it soon either. I'm sure they noticed that too. So, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Now, since we missed it on last week's show because of some issues, did anyone on the panel, because there was some goodies that were announced by Xbox that were put up for pre-orders. For example, that Xbox mini fridge was announced, and people were, oh man, just like scouring to try and find them online.
it was in my cart. I literally was putting in my
Really? Wow.
payment information, and it was gone.
I
That's how that story goes.
I still once again shake my head at the fact that retailers do not know how to circumvent bots at this point. It shakes my head. I mean, it's kind of funny in my industry with the kind of stuff we sell. There's actually things put in place to prevent bots from doing what they're doing. And these online retailers refuse to actually implement things. I mean, it's literally something as simple as putting up a CAPTCHA where you have to hunt down all the fire hydrants because a bot cannot recognize things. All they see are just stuff on the screen. There's all sorts of ways to implement this. There could have been email lists for people to sign up ahead of time to get emailed for availability. I think there was an article floating around that one scalping group literally got about 160 of them when you were only supposed to be able to purchase one at a time. So to really put that, I mean, you had a lot of bots running to be able to do that.
You should have done it. They should have allowed it, or should set up something, because you can purchase system accessories to your Xbox. So at least for the first batch, they should have had to sign in to purchase it, because this is like a fan meme item. It's not like, hey, you can only get an Xbox. It's not like, hey, they're going to win a generation by selling fridges. So at least for this first, because it's a fan item, so make it so you have to use your Xbox browser, like your Xbox, like in the rewards. You have to go there and purchase it that way, at least for the first initial batch. That way we all get a chance to get it. That would have been smart, but I get it because they need to use Target as the distributor to get a bunch out there. But hopefully they get Target to like, hey, after this first pre-order, put them on your shelves. Don't only sell them online. And the only reason they're in the store is because someone purchased them already online and you're there to pick it up. Because that's why you can't get a PS5, because the bots already got them, and then they walk in the store and pick it up.
Did you hear what they were doing in Japan to stop scalpers?
No.
So a retailer in Japan will physically write the person's name on the box in a hard tip felt pen. So if you even try to wipe it off the box, it's carved into the cardboard of the box. So that way you actually know who scalped the console. and it's actually starting to deter scalpers in Japan because most scalpers rely on anonymity to do this, and they did not like the fact that basically their name and address was carved into the side of the box.
I was not aware of that, Centurion, so thanks for notifying us about that. That's an interesting idea. So
there is ways to do this. It's just, regretfully, these online retailers, I'm not trying to be a jerk in saying this, they could give a rat's butt on the fact that they're being scalped, because in their minds, hey, we sold them all. But it's like you sold them all to somebody, like, I think somebody was like, had them on eBay for $400.
Yeah, come on. Like, that's not right.
Yeah, again, it's kind of sad. Like MLD for I don't know if you were looking for it. I can't remember exactly, but for us here in Canada, it's a little different. I mean, I tried looking on the Target website, but none were available. And then Aaron Greenberg had made a comment saying that Canada will find out details soon. They told us to look on, I believe it was the Xbox Gear website or the Xbox shop, and I don't know. I still haven't seen any details. Have you?
No. I mean, I don't think we even have Target. I mean, Target attempted to be in Canada for a little bit, but it just fell apart spectacularly.
Well, if
so they just went back to the States there.
Yeah, no, and I know what you mean by that. They were a flash in the pan, a fart in the wind, if you will. But no, I think they had directed us to the website that we would be able to purchase even from the American site, but still just nothing. Like, they all sold out, and I don't think we've gotten actual word about like how Canadian pre-orders are gonna go, along with obviously a few other places around the world. It's just I wish the communication was a little more like there was a lot more available about that. So just kind of a shame.
To point out, like what I said earlier on, like, to prevent this, in my job, we actually buy and resell products that are used to build other products. And some of the ordering systems I have to use online, before I'm even allowed to go to the web page's main page, when you type in the web address, it instantly keys you into a little bit of a test where you have to do a CAPTCHA, a math equation, and some other things just to verify that you're a living human being before you're even allowed to see the main page of the website to put in the orders. Because they even tell you in the beginning that that this is done to circumvent bots that have been set up by companies that are trying to buy up all the product to drive up the cost of these things. So this is just stuff that my industry has been already implementing to prevent this, and it's just amazing that other companies aren't doing this.
Yeah, I mean, again, hopefully there's going to be more available as time goes on. I know this is just going to be a limited edition kind of thing. As Shock was saying, it's just like it was a meme, and it's cool that they did this. I thought it was neat. I'm not saying it's on my priority list of things to get, but like I already have a few little knickknacks as far as the Xbox 20th anniversary goes. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shame how kind of things have worked out that way, and some scalpers got their hands on the fridge. And I mean, that's always going to be the case, but I wish that it worked out a little better, and then companies thought through them a little better. But oh well, what you gonna do, right, guys? We got a super chat from, I may screw up this name, I'm sorry in advance, Agaratos Henosis from Australia with $3.07 in Australian buckaroos. Love your show. P.S. My X backlog is getting humongous. Mind blown emoji. No doubt, buddy. I mean, how many times am I on this show talking about my backlog? It is absolutely insane. I gotta stop buying games, and the sales don't help, to say the least. I'm sure many people on the show can vouch for that.
Pass doesn't help.
Yeah, Game Pass doesn't help either. That's correct. Okay, we will move on to some other news, guys. But again, lots of excitement on the Xbox camp, to say the least. Over the past week, we saw a couple of interesting interviews with key Xbox individuals from Xbox Game Studios. Phil Spencer was speaking with the Wall Street Journal on the topic if there will be any more studio acquisitions in the near future. And Phil stated, and I quote, "We're definitely not done. There's no quota, no timeline where I have to go acquire studios by a certain time. But if we find a studio where we have a good fit, absolutely." I mean, I think that's pretty clear as day what he's saying, but you know what, Centurion, I'll hit you up on this one. You're pretty well versed in all these different industry talks. What do you think of Phil's statement here? Are they just settling after like their massive ZeniMax Bethesda deal? You know, they gotta obviously be talking to a whole bunch of studios on the side, right?
Yes, sorry, it took a second. The mute button's in a different place now. Yeah, definitely. So let's think about this objectively. You know, the fact that they spent like the money that they did on Bethesda, that was actually ranked as a once in a lifetime deal. You're not going to constantly see these guys out here dropping nuclear deals like that. But right now, the state of gaming is in such a state of flux. I mean, it's like exploding like crazy. There's a lot of people starting to interject themselves into the situation. We just saw Amazon come off with New World. They actually did. New World is a little bit of a success for Amazon, which shows that they have potential as being a competitor. And when we compare checkbooks, Amazon and Google have a checkbook just as big as Microsoft. So it just comes down to, if one of these companies does come up for sale, Microsoft would probably consider getting them. That's where we've seen some of these exploratory partnerships with great companies like Crystal Dynamics. And I mean, the interview with Matt Booty, where he talked about how Crystal Dynamics actually put themselves out there to be a co-development kind of company all of a sudden. Like, it wasn't something that they were expecting, so they automatically jumped on that. And I feel that's where Microsoft really is going to take advantage of any opportunity that pops up, no matter how random it is, especially if it's something that can help grow the industry for them. And I mean, like, I don't see them as done. I actually came out on a vote and said that I plan to hopefully see some studio talk at the VGAs, because let's be honest, Microsoft lately with the Video Game Awards has been known to have some pretty hefty mic drop moments, because let's be serious. The average PlayStation fan, somebody who is like very dedicated to PlayStation, is not going to be tuning in to an Xbox-centric show. They would probably use the internet or YouTube to probably give them the news that would be released there. But most gamers tune into the Video Game Awards because they want to see their favorite game, their favorite developer get awarded for what they do. They also want to see some of the new games that come out, because there's a good variety of games that are shown at the VGAs, and are not exclusive to one console or the other per se. But Microsoft, let's really think about that. They came out with the Series X at the VGAs. I mean, Phil Spencer walked out there, revealed the Series X. It blew everybody's mind, including Jeff Keighley's. And then they also came out, what was it, last year? And what was the game there? Forgive me. Was it Hellblade? Or I thought Hellblade was released with the Series X.
Yeah, that's true. Last year was Perfect Dark.
That's right. It was Perfect Dark last year. And that's another one that they got captured, because everybody's interested in what the initiative is doing, especially with the talent over there. And I'm just waiting for Microsoft to come out once again at the VGAs with this mic drop moment. And I mean, dude, it could be something as crazy as working with Hideo Kojima. I mean, Microsoft is really exploring every avenue they can. You know, I could go on about this all day long, but I know like everybody here on the panel is more familiar with Sega than I am. And everybody always talks about how Microsoft really should get in partnership with Sega and all these other Asian developers. And there's been a huge interest all of a sudden from Asian developers with the Xbox ecosystem, because the ecosystem is starting to explode over there. They also now have xCloud. So I mean, sky's the limit, honestly, for this whole situation, because I mean, the pandemic of 2020 really created something that Microsoft really did not expect, and they were able to capture that with the growth that they received. So let's see what happens.
I mean, I do think that they've done a lot over the past 2-3 years to adjust their studio situation, and I'll admit it's possibly time for a breather to just, again, like you were saying, Centurion, that was a once in a lifetime purchase, that ZeniMax deal. So, and people forget how many studios were involved there, and even just the amount of people that were involved in that purchase, the amount of studio personnel. That's a lot. We're talking hundreds, if not, again, thousands of people being added to Xbox, and they're constantly expanding. I mean, we see the different job listings too for these various studios, plus they're expanding the other studios that they acquired. I mean, anything is possible, but I do think that we will see a breather.
Purchase? Well, I don't really see them of having to purchase anything per se. It's also nice to see them starting to go down the route of having second-party deals once again, because, like, let's be frank, second-party deals bit them in the ass last generation, and that's where we're starting to, like, with with Crystal Dynamics, and the other two are eluding me, but if I'm right, they have like around 3 second party development deals going on with different companies. So maybe they're not just limiting it to, we're only going to deal with companies that we buy. Maybe they're starting to get enough of a powerhouse where these second party development companies are wanting to take Microsoft seriously and, excuse the expression, not F off with the money and build other games when they should be building things that they were paid to do in the first place. And I'm looking at you, Platinum.
Yeah, well, I could go on about Scalebound for a while, considering I got some merch from for that. But I will say though, and somebody mentioned this in the chat and alluded to in this conversation. So for the 20th anniversary event, they had kind of tempered the expectations for new games being shown off. So they gave kind of a roadmap. However, I mean, there's got to be some things probably that we might not know about, and this might be one of them. I mean, who's to say that they couldn't announce an acquisition? Who's to say that, again, Sega worked with Xbox quite a bit early on with the original Xbox, and wouldn't that be fitting if they announced on the 20th anniversary that, again, Sega or another publisher that they have strong ties with, or studio, whatever it may be, they acquire. I mean, that would be pretty meaningful on a couple of levels, and that would be a nice surprise, right?
We can't forget about the flub that was done with that Take-Two interview with Phil Spencer and the guy over at Take-Two. So that's not going to go away anytime soon. I'm very interested in, is that ever going to have any fruit to the mistake that was said? Or by some chance, was that an absolutely nothing bomb? That is going to be left to be determined. But I feel like that's where Microsoft would be interested in an acquisition, and not a studio per se, but like you said, a publisher, somebody that would be able to help them with the being able to put out an even broader reach of gaming and the amount of games that they could put on the market.
Again, like, I would just like Xbox to take their time. We still have all kinds of games that we know are in production from various studios. Some we know about, some, again, we just know that they're working on some new stuff. There is a lot of excitement in Xbox game studios, but that would be big. That would be massive, and honestly, that would be appropriate for the Xbox 20th anniversary, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I mean, even just like branching from Phil's comments to even Matt Booty's, I mean, going over to Booty's comments, he made some comments regarding Crystal Dynamics working on the new Perfect Dark. when he was talking with Kinda Funny Games on during their interview, he stated that Xbox is excited to work with that team, and that it's not unusual to have like a co-development studio, but it just kind of worked out the kind of like personnel connections that they have. I mean, obviously, Daryl Gallagher worked for Crystal Dynamics, and he's the head of the initiative, and I'm assuming there was a lot of back and forth between that. But like, Centurion, what do you make of Matt's comments? Like, do you think that we're talking about different acquisitions here? Do you think that this co-development deal with the initiative and Crystal Dynamics, could it lead to something more? Because Crystal Dynamics is a pretty talented team, right?
Right, very talented, and so talented it questions why in the heck were they sitting on their thumbs and put out basically on the market as a co-development team? Why were they not? Why did Square Enix not have them go off and start development on a game in-house? Why were they offered to do this role? And I actually, in my opinion, think that Crystal Dynamics should in a way feel lucky, because there was a little bit of a controversy that came out around the last partnership deal, and that was Rise of the Tomb Raider, which led to the apology letter for exclusivity, which has never been done for any other game. Like, I don't see Sony coming out saying sorry for Final Fantasy. No, not at any time has Square Enix come out and said that, oh, we apologize that Final Fantasy is exclusive. But they had Crystal Dynamics at the time, and I even think Mr. Gallagher was involved with this whole apology letter, where they had to apologize to the PlayStation community for 1 year exclusivity for a game that Microsoft funded. That the period, end of story, Microsoft funded the development of Rise of the Tomb Raider, so why in the heck would it not be exclusive for at least a year? And that's where I kind of laughed when I was like, oh, Crystal Dynamics is back. That's interesting. But it was Matt Booty's like comments that really showed that obviously, let's really think. Gallagher probably stayed in contact with a lot of the members of the team that were over there, because you're going to make workplace relations and friends for life. And they probably put it out there to Gallagher that, hey, we're not working on anything and they're not giving us another project. We're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern. And so I'm pretty sure he went and told somebody at Microsoft, who probably picked up the phone and said, hey, can we by chance, borrow your team for X amount of dollars? And you don't know. This could lead to a studio purchase, purely because there is a lot of talent in Crystal Dynamics that I feel shouldn't go to the wayside and just disappear. Because let's be honest, Square Enix recently has had a couple debacles, especially with the Avengers game and Outriders. So I'm pretty sure they were in a little bit of a holding pattern where Square Enix is going back to the drawing board, figuring out what they're going to do next. And if you want my personal opinion, I'm going to be sitting back and watching very closely this release of Guardians of the Galaxy, because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I'm a huge fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, but this game has not struck any chords for me. Between gameplay and the story that they're putting out, it is definitely not like, oh my God, I need to play this now. I think because I was fooled by Avengers, I was basically also fooled with Outriders. And that's where I'm kind of like going to sit back and see what's going to happen. And I feel Square Enix has definitely done a few things to kind of at least push me back as a gamer. And that's where they're probably not exactly having all the money that they probably expected. And some of these teams were now being used to generate other sources of revenue.
Mm-hmm. I mean, judging by the way things are going at Square Enix with their Western division, their studios there in the West, I wouldn't be surprised if they were willing to sell off their Western division, in all honesty.
That's where I'm at.
And, I don't know what they do with the Tomb Raider IP per se, but, I mean, it would be nice if they sold it along with the studios. I mean, there is a lot of talent there. if I could see that talent go anywhere, preferably, I mean, maybe I'm just biased. I think that they would be a good fit with Xbox Game Studios, but again, I think Tim has said this too. I think that there is a bit of like a trial period with these studios that they do have partnerships with, whether that be Crystal Dynamics, IO Interactive for another rumored title, Avalanche Game Studios, and so on, and just see how they fit. I mean, we don't know how these games are gonna do, but out of all of them, I mean, Crystal Dynamics does have a pedigree. I've enjoyed their Tomb Raider reboots, so I don't know. I'm fairly confident. I'm fairly confident in what they're able to do. I find both Phil's comments and Matt Booty's comments recently to be just very interesting overall, guys. But again, we'll have to wait and see on a few things. Let's see. I mean, I think if we're all done with that, we will move on to some other things. And, you know, guys, it seems like Xbox Game Pass is still growing, but maybe not at the rate that we originally were speculating on. And, you know, in a Microsoft filing to the SEC, they stated that the service grew subscribers by 38% compared to the last fiscal year. I mean, that's pretty big. However, internally, Xbox was targeting for 48% growth. You know, it's a little bit off, but still, that's still a big chunk, but it's still a little bit down. Shockley, buddy, what do you think are some contributing factors for the overall lower performance here? I mean, you know, why were they expecting more subscribers? Could it be because, I don't know, a certain game got delayed?
Yeah, you definitely could be that. And I mean, there's definitely probably the biggest factor is probably the pandemic, because like everything was seeing a dip from everybody being locked in. Like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to go out to GameStop to purchase. Oh, we got this Game Pass. Oh, cool. There's some cool games on there, and they're, you know, it's been pretty steady where they've had some pretty nice additions in there. So, but yeah, I mean, we still don't know if like have official numbers, and this is still back from like June into June numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be, well, you know, could definitely be past that and growing, but still overall good like growth. And I think, as we'll probably get into here in a bit, putting San Andreas Definitive Edition in there was a pretty smart move. It's funny how that one, like, I keep seeing the comparisons where this past week where people are like, I don't understand. Why are people not talking about PS Now? It has more games. Like, the only difference is these YouTubers and influencers are talking about it and not PS Now. Like, they're the same, or they say it's better. I'm like, nah. Like, there's a reason why the subscriber base is completely different in size. But I did see that where GTA 3 is coming to PS Now. Apparently, it's only the PS4 version. It is not the next gen version, and it's a month after the release. Whereas this is going to be the next gen version if you have a next gen console, day one for San Andreas. So that was a pretty good get. So that should definitely help. It's funny how I get it. It's not like it's a definitive edition. It's not like a brand new IP or brand new release of IP. But it was funny about the Take-Two, because this is a game that Take-Two does not need to put in Game Pass day one. Mm-hmm. Like, this game would sell like hotcakes. It's GTA, and they've definitely put in the work when you can see the comparison. So it definitely looks way better. Uh-huh. So it's funny how this is going to be in game day one, and not how they didn't just take the same approach with the PS Now edition and just like, hey, let's put, you know, after those initial month sales on both, okay, then we'll put them in there. But so that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And even just to expand upon that, Shockley,
mhm.
like, yeah, so, I mean, for those who don't know, yeah, Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy was recently announced, and yeah, a portion of those titles will be available in Game Pass day one. Yeah, isn't it San Andreas that's making its way to Game Pass?
Yeah, San Andreas. And that's definitely a lot. A lot of people didn't. It's funny. A lot of people that played San Andreas and that loved that game did not play GTA 3 or Vice City at all. Or maybe they, maybe tiny bit like played the other two, but a lot of people played San Andreas way more than the others, or didn't even play the others. San Andreas was a like mega sized game. Even though the other two were as well, San Andreas was even bigger in the just in kind of like the gaming space, more popular. So for like that might be enough. Like if it was just GTA 3, it'd be like, oh, this is nice, because the world's it's not like a complete remake. So since it's definitive edition, the world's still like much smaller in that game. You're still not going to have a talking protagonist in that game, so the story's kind of short. But no, you're getting the San Andreas, so that's going to be interesting. And there was multiplayer in that game, I remember, so I wonder if that's like still intact. My biggest thing though is the music, because if any tracks are like missing from that, this is just going to really suck, in my opinion. Just like, I'd almost rather play the ones on PS. Actually, I'd probably play them on my phone, because technically the ones on the PS5 that you can play right now, there is that ghosting effect that GTA, at least GTA 3, I haven't played Vice City on there, but there is that kind of like ghosting of the image that's there, like that was on the PS2. But it would have all the tracks, so it's like it would just kind of be such a bummer if there's any tracks missing. It would just like kind of ruin the experience for me. But
Well, what's interesting too, Shockley, is remember that the head of, at least I think it was the head of Take-Two. What was it?
yeah,
A couple of months ago, or it was a little bit ago, where he had made a comment about Game Pass and not wanting to put games on Game Pass. I can't remember the exact language of it, but I'm sure all you guys remember those comments. Like it was.
and I get his comment, because like they're like, it's not like their console, so it's not like where Xbox puts Starfield in there, because who cares? Even though it's a mega game, Xbox is seeing all the proceeds from it, all the accessories, all the mini fridges that are being like anything that brings you in their ecosystem, and you're buying all their stuff. They're just making money off of it. It's like a growth. It's literally it growing the brand, growing the whole ecosystem. So, but it is funny that he did drop that Game Pass numbers, and you understood that his games had been in Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he has a game that's about to drop in Game Pass here in a couple weeks. So it kind of gives more validity that he wasn't like, not that maybe it wasn't at 30 million yet, but maybe it was, inching closer and not like way off from that, because he would have some inclination of like what that number's going to be, because he was probably thinking of like what the numbers potentially would be when his game is in Game Pass with a definitive edition with San Andreas. So he was probably thinking ahead, like, hey, this is what it could be at the end of the year, and this is when we're dropping the next game in Game Pass. And that was the originally, I think, I don't know who it was, but their projection, where they thought Game Pass might hit, 30 million by year's end. So maybe it's not too far off. I don't know. So I mean, since we still don't have any real numbers on it, but
Mm-hmm.
it would make sense he would have somewhat of an idea of potentially, within a realm of, I guess. So what the numbers are, because he's dropping in, the San Andreas, their biggest piece of that, probably the biggest get. The reason why, because a lot of people, because I get it, they're dropping it in Game Pass, and they want people to go, okay, cool, I tasted that, cool, let me drop 60 on it and buy the whole thing. A lot of people play San Andreas, and they will be fine, and they're not even going to worry about touching the whole collection. So.
I mean, it is interesting, too, because over the past year or so, we have seen, again, not just these recent games coming onto the service day one, but we've seen Grand Theft Auto 5 drop for a couple of months, and then you'll see, was it Red Dead Redemption 2 coming on for a few months, and then, like, kind of alternating. And then you see this drop, and it's like, I mean, those are pretty significant titles to have on the service, especially, like, this is something brand new where you're seeing this definitive edition being, well, again, kind of broken up, but you're still getting one of those games in this edition day one into the service. I mean, that's pretty significant, in my opinion.
Be in there for a bit, too, because the other ones, they gave you the deadline. They're like, yeah, it's going to be in there for like 3 months. You're like, oh, okay. Maybe I need to get on it. They didn't give you a time frame on this, so usually Game Pass games are in there for almost just shy of a year, usually. Mm-hmm. So unless they give you a time frame up front. So.
Yeah, like MLD, are you interested in checking out any of the GTA trilogy like that got announced, or are you just gonna like weed through your backlog still?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we definitely have no shortage of games to play. That's for sure. I never thought. I don't think I have the time to play all three. I think I was just gonna play San Andreas, and look what happens. They happen to give us, in my opinion, the best of the three on Game Pass, because I think Grand Theft Auto 3 was one. It was first to be 3D. It blew everyone's minds, and then you got Vice City. But I think San Andreas, I think it built upon those two before it. And I think it's like the biggest world, the most content, the most things to do, like the longest campaign. I mean, I think we definitely got the best of the three. So it's good. I mean, between Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite, I might just knock through that game. I'm looking forward to that. And the fact that it's optimized for Series X, and you got PlayStation, because again, PS Now has 0 PS5 native games. So because of that, the subscribers suffer in that they only get the PS4 version of GTA 3, and again, it's a month late. So it's pretty clear we got the better deal out of the two. So I'm happy Xbox, they're able to, again, you guys mentioned it, that they're able to even negotiate this kind of stuff with Take-Two, because yeah, they have been pretty reluctant lately given their PR about putting their games on Game Pass. But hey, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, I mean, you guys said that before. Like they're warming up to it, and I think people are noticing that. But if I may, pivot back a little bit, you guys about the Game Pass. It was it's interesting how everyone was reacting to that. I mean, of course, the PlayStation guys, they jump all over that. But I have this theory. I think that the primary Game Pass subscriber base is from the consoles, and as long as we're in the pandemic and console production is slowing down, they can only make so much per week. I think we're gonna hit this proverbial Game Pass wall console-wise until console production can speed up. For Game Pass subscriber growth to really, really take off, they gotta crack the PC and the xCloud market. And right now, they're both kinda in their infancy. I mean, sure, I'm sure Game Pass PC has some subscriber as a decent following, but I don't think it's where Microsoft wants it to be yet. I feel like if they were to integrate it into Steam, that would be the breakthrough point where it will just shoot up like crazy. And even xCloud, they're only just recently opening it up to other markets like Brazil and Japan and markets like that can actually have the internet connections to support xCloud. I feel like those are the new territories, because I think, again, if they're just going to go by consoles with the supply shortages, they can only grow so fast. So I really hope they got things going for PC. I really hope that they can maybe put it into Steam however they can with Valve, if that's even possible. So it's definitely interesting to see how it's going to grow in the next couple years if console production doesn't pick up. So that's my theory anyway. They just got to think outside the box, which, again, it's a good thing. They have been doing that. So they just got to keep it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, even with all these different percentages and numbers, like, Xbox Game Pass still really grew by a lot, even if some internal numbers were lagging behind. I mean, again, like, Halo Infinite didn't come out when it was supposed to, and there were some other delays, again, with the whole worldwide situation, the way that it has been. These things, again, like, there were some expectations that were gonna be, like, held back. So again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Forza Horizon 5 launches, Halo Infinite, and a few other titles moving forward, and a few select high-profile indie games that are coming into the service, or Crossfire X, and so on. Again, I could list off a slew of titles there. But again, what's important is, like, I know Phil didn't want to comment directly on the numbers because I think he's holding on to a specific number that they're waiting for, and they just don't want to release anything just yet or say any numbers at the moment. But you know, I think they're holding back on a certain threshold in any case. But the service seems to be doing well. Xbox seems to be doing healthy. And again, we're getting some good games. We're getting some really, really awesome titles, like games from the GTA trilogy, such as San Andreas Definitive Edition, coming to the service. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if I have any time for it, but again, like, all the merrier, right, Shock?
Yeah, I'm not gonna complain, but yeah, it does make managing them hard, because it's like I was telling you, I was in Tales of Rise. I'm like, let me finish this, but man, that's definitely a longer game. And then Metroid Dread that I had pre-ordered drops. I'm like, ugh. And then next week I'm gonna be playing, the new Mario Party that's dropping. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that actually.
So it's like, okay, I'll try my best. This backlog's never going away.
No,
It's amazing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I insist, buddy. Go ahead, MLD.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, it's just amazing how well it's growing, and again continues to grow, because again 37% is still pretty awesome, but it's been almost solely on these third-party deals. I mean, sure, we've had games like Outer Worlds was day one, Gears 5 was day one, Forza Horizon 4, and you got the games last year, like let's see, Wasteland 3. All those multiplayer, not like we've been getting some nice day one games, but I think the bulk of it was just third party deals, the day one games, I think. So the fact that it got this far before the first party wave truly hits, it's really encouraging. Like, I'm really excited to see where things will be at come January, if they were so inclined to announce something, because I think you're right. They're waiting for a threshold. I think it's 30 million. They're going to wait for that 30 million. I think by the time the dust settles in January, I think we might get there if they play their cards right.
I think you're definitely going to see an uptick starting in these starting with November, because you're going to have not only San Andreas, but also Forza Horizon. That's going to be a banger. And then Halo's just going to, especially having that free-to-play model, you need Game Pass, so that's going to help advertise like the campaign and get more people in. And then right after that, you got Plague's Tale 2 dropping in there day one. Shortly after that, Stalker 2 that looks amazing. Then shortly after that, Redfall, and so on and so forth. And Starfield to cement the end of the year. So you're going to have this steady stream from like starting this next month here on out.
Yeah.
Where there's going to be constant big first party, let alone third and second party deals.
Keep in mind, Shock, too, these are titles that a lot of them nowadays are coming both to Xbox and PC. We're talking about titles like Warhammer Darktide, and again, like, I could list off a whole bunch, but just many, many titles. It's going to be expanding. There's going to be a huge new influx of people coming in the next few months, actually probably the next 6-7 months. I'm not going to speculate on the numbers because that would probably be unfair, but I would say it's a given that the numbers are going to expand quite dramatically from Halo alone. But again, we'll wait and see what Microsoft says on those. But either way, I mean, Xbox, okay, maybe it had a little bit of a slowdown the past quarter, but I would say it's a given. It's going to be in an uptick very, very soon. Okay, guys, I believe we will move over to our last topic of the evening. And hey, guys in the chat, everybody listening, definitely don't forget to leave a like and share this out and get everybody in to enjoy this episode. We're having a really good time chatting here. I mean, again, who doesn't like talking about Xbox games, right? Over the last year or so, we've heard rumblings of Killer Instinct possibly getting a new iteration in the series. Well, it seems like it may be a reality. I mean, we've talked about it on the show a few times, different things possibly going on with the game franchise, but on a recent episode of Xbox Era Podcast, show friend Nick stated that through his sources, he can confirm that a new Killer Instinct game is in active development, and that Iron Galaxy is not, and I repeat, not the developer behind it. Centurion Pal, Killer Instinct is a property that really, it just came out of nowhere at the launch of the Xbox One, and it proved to be very successful and an enduring title. People really do seem to want KI back. Do you think that we could be seeing the return of KI soon? And if so, like, who do you think could be behind it?
Well, just real quick, just so everybody knows, I'm over here trimming the bushes of Killer Instinct because I was always a Mortal Kombat fan. My experiences with playing Killer Instinct were playing Killer Instinct Gold on an actual, like, full-size stand-up arcade in an Albertsons growing up as a kid. Because they didn't want the Mortal Kombat game there because it was too graphic, so they settled for Killer Instinct. And I actually had a lot of fun playing that stand-up arcade with my friends. I actually know some of the characters, but I didn't really get on the train of the Xbox One title. I know, at least from what I've read about it and the videos I've watched on it, it wasn't... excuse me. It wasn't exactly the barn burner that it is today when it first came out, and then Iron Galaxy was brought in, and they really gave that game some teeth. And so it definitely makes me want to go check it out. That I never have, though. I guess that would be one of the ones in my backlog. But I do believe that Microsoft would put this out there for the success that it did have. They would probably want to bring it back again. It would also perfectly fit the idea of the Game Pass model of putting something like that in Game Pass so people can have access to the base game and then obviously buy the character packs and all that other good stuff that comes along with that type of game. But from what you said, Iron Galaxy is not making this game. They are off doing their own thing. The sources I've been listening to and checked out said that there was two that came up for them, and that was, let me see, the first one was Inway, who is known for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and the other one was Dimps, who did Street Fighter 4. Those were the two developers that kind of came out, at least from them, that say that they would be a perfect fit for that kind of game. And obviously they have not announced anything that they're working on, and nobody has confirmed this game or who's working on it. And it does leave it open for definitely a lot of speculation and the direction that the game is going to go, because the guys I listened to, they really loved what Iron Galaxy did. So a few of them are excited that Killer Instinct is coming back. But they are a little trepidatious over the fact that Iron Galaxy is not involved. So this could be a game that would feel completely different than what we're used to, what we got from Iron Galaxy's Killer Instinct. But definitely, because I never experienced that, I don't have any premise to base it on. That's where you guys would probably have a better job at doing that than me.
Well, I mean, I don't think it necessarily is gonna, like, how do I put it? I mean, I think it should still retain a lot of the same character that it did before. I mean, Iron Galaxy wasn't the original developer; that was Double Helix, anyways, right? And they did a
Yeah.
good job of expanding what Double Helix did. I mean, I really liked Iron Galaxy's newer characters that they brought into the series. I liked. There was a lot of nice tweaks to it, but I mean, in a new iteration, okay, like for example, I'm just gonna backtrack here a bit. Not a lot was expected of Killer Instinct because I would argue it was more of a budget title for Microsoft. It was originally supposed to be on the Xbox 360 as well, but it got moved.
Yeah, I think it was like an Xbox arcade. Because Double Helix was just kind of like they were smaller and they were kind of making those type of games, and they were like, you know what about making Killer, because it was them that kind of brought up like making Killer Instinct, from what I remember. So they were like really really wanting to make that game, and then that's where Microsoft, they may have greenlit it, but you could tell they weren't like fully behind it, and the way they kind of released it by piecemeal, and like, oh, okay, cool, okay, it's got some buzz and traction, and Maximilian is making this blow up. And then it got bigger, but yeah, I'm definitely excited. That's the key. Just get those hungry people that like really like Killer Instinct, like as far as devs, and get those people together, just like how it was born. With the remake, and as long as they keep the that's the key. As long as they keep the community, and they've actually hired and had Maximilian in part of with the development. So just keep that going, because like he knows Killer Instinct down to a T. So just keep that going, and you got like that game is that great thing about that game is that it's so different than all the other like KI, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter is completely different from those games. So, it can sell well. It can differentiate. It can definitely be a big, Game Pass driver, because that's the problem when KI released, is that it didn't get good reviews because it was just a piecemeal game, and it kind of lost its steam. It never got to release as a full package game on day one. It eventually got there, but that's where games that do that kind of get left behind. They'll be like when you go back to Fallout 76, it's like you don't hear about this being this big thing, even though it might be great now. People still have that initial taste of like, it's okay. But yeah, so if they could release a full package game in this new imagining of style of KI, that should be a pretty big hit. So
yeah, the thing is, like, they need to find a team that, as you had alluded to, is passionate about the project. For example, they were talking to Double Helix, but Double Helix, they were a bunch of guys that were really passionate about Killer Instinct, and they also had a whole bunch of talent that had a history in some fighting games, if I'm not even mistaken. That could, again, they made a quick demo to show Microsoft, and Microsoft was very impressed with what they showed off. That's why they got to do Killer Instinct, and they did it in a short amount of time because, again, at the time the studio Double Helix was making, quick games that publishers could get out to the market. But they did a very good job with Killer Instinct. They did a very good job for the property. The IP was in good hands. It's just a shame that, Amazon had to pick them up. But Iron Galaxy took that, and again, they expanded upon it, and I thought that they did a commendable job on it as well. But yeah, they need to find a developer that can be a good steward to the series. The thing is, I don't really know too many, like, I don't even want to say fighting game studios. It could be anybody at this point, because again, Double Helix weren't exactly known for making fighters. So, and if Iron Galaxy isn't the studio behind it, because they flat out denied it a few times on their social media, and I don't think they're lying. So it's a matter of, okay, I want to believe that this game is in active development. There's a lot of things that make sense, but who could it be? I mean, like you said, that Power Rangers developer, that is possible, but they're also a very small team, if I'm not mistaken. Centurion, correct? Because don't they only have like, I mean, they're under 50 people at the very least, right?
I didn't check into the size of the developer. I can do that real quick. But at least that's where I turn to the guys that are much more passionate about franchises that I am, especially when it comes to Killer Instinct. And at least the one I listened to, they were leaning more towards the Street Fighter 4 developer, Dimps, which is actually, if I'm right, under the Capcom flag. But that's where I really do not know about Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, because interestingly enough, I actually did play a little bit of the game, and I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story that they were trying to push. That's where I'm just curious. Is there a storyline to Killer Instinct, or is it just basically just fight?
Yeah, there's a storyline like there is a storyline for KI. Like it's there.
There's a lore.
That's what I mean. Is it more like lore, or is it like Mortal Kombat, where you have these great big drawn out, almost like episodic style stories?
I would say more. It's more lore, like, but
yeah. Well, because a lot of text. Before this, you only had.
See, that's where if you played Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, it wasn't where you basically sit and watch these massive cutscenes. It was literally just like almost like watching a still cartoon where it was text reading, and then it would just line up the next fight. That's where, I mean, could we really say a smaller developer couldn't pull it off? I mean, we've seen some really small developers this last gen actually pull off great titles, and that's where. Like, let's look at Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory is a very small developer, and they actually pull off some really great, beautiful games. Sky's the limit for some of these indie developers nowadays to be able to do some really cool things. And at least they're not giving it to a developer that has no history in fighting. That's the only thing I could say is at least what more could you want for somebody to design a fighting game is at least somebody who has a little bit of a background and pedigree, and you never know. Somebody like Inway could want to push their the development studio further and actually try to maybe grow it by tackling a much larger project.
Yeah, that's where they need to take it to a next level. Is that to give it a story? Like, to be fair, the first and second one were on the Super Nintendo and N64, so they were only going to have text base. And then with this one, they kind of piecemealed it together and still kept a story, but nothing on the realms, on like MK11.
And that's where I think if by some chance Killer Instinct came out and I don't want to say tried to copy Mortal Kombat, but at least tried to create a story that would be in the game to kind of stretch out, familiarize people with the lore and the characters, and actually give them, because I feel like that's one of the things I'm lacking for excitement is I really know little to nothing about these characters unless I'm wanting to probably sit down and probably watch some videos online and read some articles to really get the full experience.
Yeah, it has its own distinct story. It definitely doesn't feel like, hey, this is just cookie cutter of MK11. It has its own distinct story where it doesn't feel the same. The great thing with Killer Instinct was so different back then as well. It took like every little good thing about like some of the fighters that was back then and kind of put it all into one. It was a blast to play. So it made an impact. It's just, well, it was on the N64, which didn't. If Killer Instinct Gold hit PlayStation, it would be way bigger than it was. But since it didn't, and not many people had N64s back then, especially this thing dropped early on. It was one of the like launch window titles.
That's correct.
Because I was playing the shit out of that when I first got my N64 at launch. So that was its main issue. So, because it was definitely a big hit on Super Nintendo, and then this thing hit on a console that not many people had. That's kind of where its downfall. But if they can hit and put, hey, a story, and flesh out some of these characters, and drop that thing all at one day pass, that a full package game like that'd be huge. So
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they definitely got to do content as well though, because as
get
good
that buzz of a 90 plus Metacritic
oh yeah,
fighter, like dropping, that would be huge.
oh yeah. I mean, as good as it was when it launched, it only had 6 characters, and I think that affected the reviews. The
yeah.
audience dropped off. By the time it has the full roster that the game has now, like 26 characters, most of the gaming community moved on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So whatever.
And they
yeah.
reviewed it again, like when it was a complete more complete package, and it did get better reviews. By that time, no one even knew that new review is out there on Metacritic.
Yeah, that's
No
the
one
thing.
cared at the point.
Yeah,
Well,
people already moved on, so they gotta launch at least with a decent roster from the start, and then expand from there at the very least.
yeah, and again, the game had a lot of identity to it, even if it didn't have a lot of content at its launch. I mean, what I found to be one of the most memorable parts of it was actually its music score. Mick Gordon, who was behind, well, a good portion of the tracks. I realize he didn't do a few of them, and I believe he didn't do the third season, but season 1 and 2, they were phenomenal game soundtracks, and I keep going back and listening to them, and he just really captures the essence of a lot of these crazy characters that are in the KI universe. I really want to see Mick Gordon behind the music score of this again. Not only that, too, guys, but it was one of those games that I just heard a lot of commentary on, that the online netcode for it was phenomenal when it launched. Even to this day, it has one of the best online netcodes for fighters, and I really hope that they carry on with that. Because again, if you're playing a very competitive game, a fighter game, like you can't have too much lag and so on, otherwise it just really screws things up. So again, I want to see a really competent team behind this. I've seen a few studios in the chat being listed: Arc, Dimps, and obviously in this chat. I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox were to create an internal studio to deal with it, to be honest with you guys. It is possible that we just haven't heard of the studio because they're kind of secret right now. I mean, that's just me speculating, but again, if we're having a hard time finding like the studio, NetherRealm is working on a couple of different things. Obviously Iron Galaxy and so on. It's kind of slim pickings with the exception of some Japanese studios and that indie studio that you mentioned that worked on Power Rangers Centurion. Again, like, I'm open to a lot of developers. It could be one totally out of left field. I'm just saying I would not be surprised if they were to take it into their own hands and be like, all right, we'll just poach some talent and create our own studio to deal with Killer Instinct, depending on, again, how they want to grow this fighter, because I think it was very successful for them last gen. So I think it was one of their most successful first-party IPs last gen, actually. So,
yeah, it was smart what they did to get, like, they had to do it to release it that way, otherwise it would have never been made. Just to make sure, because it was free to play when it was basically free. They would cycle out a fighter every so often that you'd get to try, and you could just buy the fighters piece by piece. And then I think that's what got some people to like try it, and then it kind of grew from there. So.
Oh, it was very progressive for its time. I mean, it was doing the season model before many games adopted that. That's free to play off the bat. Like it was very, very good with the ideas they were trying.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like the way they did like the microtransactions for the cosmetics, like as a way for revenue. I mean, I think I did that with my 1 or 2 mains back in the day.
I'm tempted to get that arcade 1-up, but man, it's pricey. I think it's like $800. But the arcade 1-up replica, it comes with like all the Battletoad games, I believe, and then KI 1 and 2. But it has online play, so you can literally play arcade online from your arcade 1-up with other players. So I was disappointed though that they didn't on one side put Spinal, which they have for the KI1 or the KI1 arcade.
Mm-hmm.
But since it comes with KI2, you didn't have this giant, beautiful picture of Orchid on the side. I'm like, this is a missed opportunity. Just KI 1 and 2. Yeah, she got me through adolescence back then.
Oh yes, good old Orchid. Believe me, I really enjoyed playing as her
You know-
when the game launched.
You know how much I tried on my N64 because I'd watch people play KI1 in the arcade, and they do that fatality where she unzips
Yes.
and makes the first. And I was like, okay, this got to be in this game. And I was like, the amount of tutorials and like, I got so good at the game. Like, this must not be in this game. I've mastered this game. It's not here. They just didn't. Well, of course, I didn't know Nintendo's like, trying to be, kid friendly, but obviously that wouldn't have made it into the SNES version either. So, but it was just funny. I tried my hardest when I was a kid. I was like, this got to be in here. No.
Well, they better not tone her down in future games because I tell you, she is a beauty. So I want her to stick around. Actually, now I'm trying to remember who I mained as for the game. I got to admit, guys, I suck at fighters, but KI just I have a thing. I've always had a thing for KI. I used to like play it at the arcade or at the drive-in. There would always be like intermissions, and I would play the arcade sections, and KI would always be there along with like Rampage and whatnot. And I loved playing as like Fulgore or oh man, what's another? Spinal is another one. I think those were my two mains. And in recent seasons too, Aghanos. Like I just like the variety in KI. There's a lot of different play styles, and
they have some really awesome,
It's
like,
definitely
cool
more
characters.
successful, too. Because this game has combo assist, so you can just
Mhm.
sloppily enter the commands, and you'll feel like you're a pro. Because I'm not
Yeah.
the best at fighting games myself, but this is by far the best fighting game I'm at. So with the new game, I really hope this 2013 Killer Instinct, that essence is carried forward for the most part, because they really nailed the accessibility, in my opinion.
But yeah, you look good even when you're getting your ass beat.
Yes.
Because you got to know like how, because all that work you put into it, you have to know how to like cash in the combos. Otherwise, it's all for nothing. But it still looks like you're holding your own, not getting destroyed, even though you are. But
yeah, and believe me, I've had my ass handed to me quite a few times, even by the CPU on some of the harder difficulties. But I just enjoy it. I enjoy looking at the stages. Again, guys, like the music was a huge thing for me. So even if I was getting my butt kicked or things didn't go my way, it was like, well, I had a cool stage to look at. The characters just looked badass, and I was just enjoying myself. And that's a sign of a really good game to me. You can get your ass handed to you, but you're still having a good old fun time. But yeah, I really hope that there is a new iteration of Killer Instinct coming. I always thought there would be. And Phil has said that, again, he would love to see it. He just needs to find a team, and it seems like he's done that, whether it be internally created or just, again, it could be a random studio that we may have not even thought of, or heck, even like an internal studio that they already have. Like, I don't know, I'll throw one out there, maybe like one of, like, for example, Ninja Theory. They have two studios? Maybe Ninja Theory's working on it. I don't know. Just putting an idea out there. I know they got a few different things on the go, but who knows? It could be anybody. But I think on that note, guys, with all that said and covered, we will start to end things off for tonight's show. And I gotta say a big thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight to kick back, relax, and just listen to us talk about Xbox and games overall. And it's always great seeing you all here. If you enjoyed the show tonight, then hey, remember, hit that like button, share this show out all across social media, and sub to the channel, because you want to keep up to date with all the TXR guys, right? Let's get to a whole bunch of these outros now, starting with, Eric? I'll start with you, Shockley, buddy. Really, really appreciated your thoughts tonight, pal. Where can everybody follow you at?
yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNeuro on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, great show tonight, and yeah, we're looking forward to this Forza. I'm trying to see what my prediction is going to be for that Forza Horizon Metacritic. So, but yeah, definitely expecting some high things today, and yeah, I almost totally forgot. I was about to go to bed and totally forgot 9 a.m. Set your alarms for that Halo gameplay. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
Ditto, pal, ditto. Moving on over to General MLD. Buddy, always great having your voice on. You're a real compliment to the show. Where can everybody, all these fine people tuning in, follow you at?
Thank you, thank you. Twitter is at MLD Ghost. YouTube channel General MLD. As always, it was great to talking news, talking gaming, talking Xbox, and I cannot wait for that Halo campaign tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that next week.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be on the docket for sure, pal. Moving on over to Centurion Buddy. Again, like everyone else, you had some really great commentary tonight. Where can all these fantastic viewers and listeners find you at?
Well, for starters, thank you, gentlemen, for another amazing Sunday night show. Thank you to the chat and everyone tuning in. It's always great to be here and socialize with everyone. For those interested in finding me, you could find me at Centurion1307 on Xbox Live, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Finally starting to get the content mill starting to fire back up over there. And for those also wanting to enjoy more of my podcast, obviously I'm here every Sunday night with these fine gentlemen that are like my second fam. You will also find me every Saturday night with the other half of my second fam over on the Shop Podcast. And yeah, I mean, great way to cap off the week for me.
Yeah, well said, my friend. And naturally, to round things off, to round the group off, this is Invader, and you can find my content on YouTube over at Invader Gaming. I'm also on a number of different alternative media sites such as BitChute, Minds, and so on. Same name, Invader Gaming. You know where to find me. Excellent show all around, and we look forward to seeing you all here for next week's offerings. Yeah, it looks like we're already going to have a lot to talk about, so definitely set your alarms and book the date on the calendar. We will be here next Sunday to talk all things Xbox and more. Later, everyone. Have a good night.